Okay, everybody. We just had the draft yesterday, so this is our post-draft season preview video from your fantasy commission. I'm just going to go through uh, everybody's team, and I'm going to basically review the draft and make my playoff predictions for our fantasy league. So to start off, I think everybody's team is actually really good and has a potential to make the playoffs. And once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. You're in the money once you're in the playoffs, right? So, uh, well, I'm going to critique, people's picks and basically do a bit of smack talk and trash talk. And it's just my opinion. And who am I really, right? I mean, I'm going to be glowing on my own team and predict that I'm going to win everything. Uh, which means everybody else has to lose, right? Especially to me. I'm not going to predict that I'm going undefeated, but I'm going to be overly positive on my team and somewhat negative on everybody else's. But overall, I think every team is balanced and even, and there's no one team that's far ahead of anybody or far below anybody. Like no one team is destined to be the fantasy loser, right? So there's no uh, favorites for that, and any one of the 12 teams is a championship team. It's just on how the games play out and how unlucky you are, right? So, or lucky, right? A luck will go into it. And to start off, I'll go by divisions, and I'll start with the family division. And that division is myself and Lance, Jimmy, and my brother Rick. So I'll just go by team names. So I'll go with the pork chops first. And my team, I like it. I'm not in love with the team. I'm going to say my best pick is Owen Daniels in the third last round, the 14th round. I think he provides great value. And my worst pick is Alex Smith. I'm looking at the draft board right now. Alex Smith was in the 10th round, which isn't bad, but he's going to have to start for me every week in the QB2 spot. My weakness is all my wide receivers are sophomores or rookies, and they're going to be inconsistent. My starting three wide receivers are uh, unproven. I mean, they had the sophomores had good years last year, so the, they have a really low floor and an extremely high upside. So that'll be the weakness of the pork chops. Okay, moving on to the next team. We'll go with Lance and the Looney Tunes team. And Lance's team is excellent, and it should compete for the playoffs and compete for the championship. I'll say his best draft is Justin Forsett in the third round, which is an absolute um, really good pick. Justin Forsett in the third round. His worst pick, he doesn't actually have a bad pick, right? But one of them's got to be the worst pick, and that's taking the Dolphins defense, who I love, but he took him in round 13, so not the second last round, right? He took him in the fourth last round, so round, and that's all. I mean, the Dolphins were probably going to be there a round later. I do like the Dolphins as a pick. Just I really like the Looney Tunes team. That's going to be they're going to be tough to beat. Okay, next I'm going to go with my brother's team, Beast Mode 24. That's he didn't draft Marshawn Lynch, but it's a good team. He's got very strong wide receiving core, which is actually excellent in a PPR league. It's very good to have a good wide receiver core, and they'll bring him many wins. His biggest weakness is his running back two. His depth is very shallow. He's going to have to start his second running back is going to be one of the weakest running backs of the 12 teams, actually, if I'm honest. But you know what? He'll have such an advantage at tight end and quarterback and wide receiver that it probably will make up for that. But we'll go with his best pick. His best pick is Jeremy Hill, who he got in the third round. He got late, and he's getting first round value in Jeremy Hill. His RB1 is good. And his worst pick is he went and reached on a kicker. He drafted his kicker again in the 13th round. That's just brutal. No reason for that. There were like he actually got a really good pick in the 14th round. And he was lucky that pick was still there for him. But there were much better picks to take, right? So whatever, we'll go with that. And the last team in the family division is Jimmy, and he's the owner of team Hot Air. So Hot Air, which is a great team name. It's a good team, but I feel like this division is extremely difficult. You got myself, my brother, and Lance, who all have lots of fantasy experience, and I'd say his biggest weakness is his running back depth, which you're going to find in 12-team leagues. But you know what? If he really pays attention to the waiver wire and makes trades, he could really compete for the playoffs. Like, his team's not out of it anyway. A couple lucky wins. We haven't actually played any games yet, so this again is just my opinion. In fact, I could be overvaluing my team. I bet you my team is bad enough that it could finish fourth. It really is. But I'm going to predict first, just because you can't win your team on draft day. You have to make trades and waiver pickups and avoid injury and get lucky. But if you ignore your team, you're not going to win. No matter how good a team you drafted on draft day, if you ignore your team, you're not going to win. All right, so Jimmy's team will go with his best draft pick is A.J. Green. He got A.J. Green in the third round. Huge PPR monster. I like him. His worst draft pick was his first round pick, actually. He was drafting third overall, and in my opinion, he took DeMarco Murray, who he likes, right? He was the number one fantasy back last year, right? The leading rusher. But in my opinion, I think he's going to face some regression, and Jamal Charles and Adrian Peterson were drafted after. And those were better values. But that's just my opinion on DeMarco Murray. I mean, he's on a high-powered offense. He's going to be part of that offense, so I could be wrong, but I think that's his worst pick. I think he should have went with the safer floor, personally, and that's just me. So now moving on to, it's going to be the most contested division of the league, the Friends division. You got four great owners in Gavin, Dwayne, Mike, and Rob, and Rob missed half the draft. Everybody in the family division attended the draft, so that's good. Rob drafted his team by phone. Lance drafted his team by Skype, but he was there. We had some issues with the Skype because I lost my internet connection, but that's all right. He didn't miss anything really. So we'll go on to the Friends division, and we'll start with Gavin's team. Gavin's team's solid. It's quite possibly the most balanced fantasy team ever assembled. He has my pick for best draft, in the room. Every single position is filled with veterans. He's got some rookie upside on the bench, but it's really impressive, the team he put together. I think he likes it. So his best pick is Des Bryant. He got Des Bryant in the second round. He's a PPR monster. He's going to be amazing. His worst pick is a lottery pick. He took Jared Hayne from San Francisco, the former rugby player. You know, he could be something. He's getting a lot of hype. He's a sleeper, and he drafted him late enough that it's it's round 11. There's hardly any. But you know what? If he didn't draft him at 11, he probably wouldn't have been drafted. So he could have waited till round 14. So that's why it's his worst pick. But honestly, that's my pick for best draft. The team name is Half Blind. Okay, so Half Blind. The next team I'm going to talk about is Team Chin. He wasn't at the draft. He was drafting by proxy. And it's a strong team because it was basically an auto draft. It went the best available player when he was up. And, with that, there's some injury concerns and some suspended players, but there's lots of upside on them. And, of course, once the suspensions are over and the studs are off the injury, I mean, if they're all healthy at playoff time, he could cruise through the playoffs to a championship team. And he looks like a playoff team. His best pick is Matt Forte, a third-round PPR monster. He led all running backs in receptions last year. Every year, he gets 80 receptions. He leads. He's in the top 5 in receptions every year for running backs. So that's an excellent pick for him. His worst pick is Cam Newton. A round later in round 4, in a 2 QB league, when you wait to draft your first QB, you're going to go deep. Like the second round had 4 QBs taken. The first round had 2. The third round had 1, but then the fourth round had another 4, and he picked he picked the 4th out of the 4, right? So he got Cam Newton to be his QB1, and that's what I consider the worst pick of his draft, which isn't too bad. His team is pretty solid. According to some website projections, he's considered to be the top scoring team for the year, and we'll see if that bears fruit. The next team I'm going to talk to is Cheeseburger Walrus. Mike drafted a team with lots of upside. I mean, tons of upside on his team, lots of upside. It looks like the inconsistent productions, like he'll get, single-digit fantasy points 1 week from some of his players, and then double-digit, like in the 20s production. That's what kind of upside his players have. His division, it looks like all the owners are going to be really into it, making moves. And I think this division will have a wild card enter the playoffs too, right? Like, so where the family division is for sure going to have a wild card team in it, I could say the same for the Friends division. The Friends division will have the division winner make the playoffs and a wild card come out of there. So if you are in the top 2 standings in that division, you're most likely going to make the playoffs. Okay, so his best pick is Alfred Blue, who's going to be the starting running back for Houston. He drafted him in round 11. He'll be the starting running back for Houston for the first month. Arian Foster's injured. So for the first 4 or 5 weeks, Alfred Blue will be the starter. He got him in the 11th round. That's a great pick. His worst pick, I don't think it's a secret. On draft day, we gave him a hard time. The 3rd round pick of C.J. Spiller. Now, C.J. Spiller is going to be a PPR monster. He's going to be getting targets. His upside is huge, but he's only had 1 productive year in Buffalo. 1. Now he's on the Saints. They're going to be throwing a lot. Their running game's the throwing game, so he could break out and be awesome, but of course, in my opinion, I don't think that's going to happen. But you're drafting. He believes so, and let's hope it works out. Okay, so that's that, and I'm going to finally go to the best team name in the league. Rob named his team Thunderclap, and I think that team name is awesome. Too bad it doesn't win you games, but it's an awesome team name. Rob's team is amazing. Every single one of those teams, sorry, every single one of the players he drafted is a veteran, like will get playing time. They're not exciting. There's not a lot of upside. They're not fantastic rookies, big names. Like even his first round pick, Tom Brady, is like a quarterback on his last legs. Like he should be a top 5 quarterback this year. So not a bad pick. I'm not saying he's a bad pick, but everybody on his team is like that. They're veterans, right? Calvin Johnson, his best days are behind him. He's still very good. He's the number 1 receiver on Detroit. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like he got Chris Ivory really, really late. He got Chris Ivory in the 10th round. That's the starting running back for the Jets, right? Not exciting, but he's going to get his production. He could surprise, right? So his best draft pick is Carlos Hyde, and his worst draft pick is Max Williams. Max Williams, he took Max Williams, a tight end, ahead of Travis Kelce and Greg Olsen. So I'm really like I drafted Owen Daniels in round 14, and I like Owen Daniels better than Max Williams. So that pick was just plain bad. But that doesn't mean he can't compete for the playoffs. He's got a good team. Good surprise. He's not my pick to win that division, but he should have lots of fun. It's a good team. All right, now for the last division. The last division is the kids division. Everybody is under the age of 18 in that division. They're all kids. One high school kid and the rest are in elementary school or grade school. And I'll start with Izzy. All right, Team Izzy has a dangerous QB duo, but the best wide receiver group in the league. He started his draft with wide receiver. He didn't draft his quarterback until he drafted Sam Bradford in the 4th round. Or sorry, the 5th round. So now Sam Bradford has huge upside, but he's also an injury concern. And then he has Andy Dalton, who doesn't have a huge upside, but he's thrown to a good stack of wide receivers and should be a top 12 quarterback. Who knows, right? Who knows? Since we're starting 24 quarterbacks in this league, he belongs there. So he waited a long time to draft his quarterbacks. His best draft pick is Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry is a PPR monster. Got him in the 4th round. I was hoping to get him in the next round, in the 5th round, but of course you can't have everything. I really like that pick. That's his wide receiver 3, right? He has wide receiver 2 upside. So he's playing him at wide receiver 3. That's amazing. And his worst pick is Julius Thomas. He drafted Julius Thomas in the 10th round, a player who's going to miss 4 or 5 weeks, who would have been available in the 14th round. So now, mind you, once he's back to playing, like he doesn't have Peyton Manning throwing to him. He's got Blake Bortles throwing to him now. So he won't repeat last year's production but that's just my opinion, right? The team's still pretty good. All right, so moving on. I got to hurry this up. The next team is the Chicago Turnips. Okay, Chicago Turnips is Spencer's team. When I look at it, the team seems incomplete. There's injuries, there's rookies, there's not a lot of depth, but he probably got the best pick in the 1st round. He got Adrian Peterson dropped to him with the 6th pick. That's his best pick. He's going to ride Adrian Peterson to a record-breaking year. His worst pick was reaching for the Broncos in round 6. I mean, it wasn't the first defense taken. The Seahawks were taken in round 5. But the Broncos, he could have waited till round 12. Like, he didn't have to take him in round 6. The Broncos are a top 10 defense, but again, that's his worst pick. All right, and that's Team Chicago Turnips. The next team is Team Aussie. Ozzy missed the draft as well through no fault of his own, but he had a pretty good team. The team is a bunch of boring names that will give him production every week. I think his best pick was Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen in the 5th round is his wide receiver 2. I think that will bring him a lot of value in production. And his worst pick was Zach Ertz in the 9th round, who will only be on the field in passing downs, right, and 2 tight end sets. But he's on a high-powered offense. He's also injured. Again, that was the auto draft that made that pick. So, but I like the team, and in that division, he's got a good running back core. Actually, he's got an excellent running back core and a good wide receiver core. So I like it. I like his team. He's also got decent quarterbacks. So that's Team Ozzy. And then last but not least is Team Fitzgerald. Team Fitzgerald probably should be getting fitted for the sash and crown of the fantasy loser. I'm just playing. I'm just trash talk. He's the team that's going to have to face the most trash talk all year. His picks were high upside lottery picks, which if they pay off, he's going to win the division easy. But there's a lot of risk. His pick in the 1st round was his best pick, Jamal Charles. He also got him late with pick 7. An amazing PPR monster. He'll be riding him every week. His worst pick, I would say, is Cordell Patterson. He took him in round 7. This guy is an all-or-nothing player. He's either going to give you 18 points in a week or like 0 points. He'll have a few weeks with 0 points. So he's an all-or-nothing player. So that's my review of the draft. And now I'll talk playoff predictions. Okay, so I predict the number 1 seed and winner of the family division is the Pork Chops. That's what I'm going to predict. Okay, I'm going to predict the number 2 seed and the winner of the Friends division to be half blind. He really did a good team. Doesn't have to do a lot to keep it competitive. The number 3 team, and this, like, again, anybody could win the division in this division, but in the kids division, the division championship, and the number 3 seed, I think Team Izzy gets the number 3 spot. The wild cards, the number 4 seed wild card team from the Friends division, Team Chin. I think he'll do that team I think they'll make the playoffs. So, and then another wild card team from the family division, number 5 seed Looney Tunes. These are my predictions, of course. You guys don't get mad. And the number 6 seed, I think it will come down to the very last week, and it's between 2 teams. But I think Beast Mode from the family division takes it. Cheeseburger Walrus will rank 7 and just miss the playoffs, and these are my predictions. The semifinals will be myself as the number 1 seed facing Looney Tunes and Half Blind facing Izzy in a battle of Team White, the White family battle, father against son in the semifinals on the way to the championship. And then I predict myself and Half Blind to be in the championship game with myself taking home the championship belt. That's my predictions. If you have any feedback or rebuttals, you can leave it in the comments or make your own video trash talking how terrible my team is. How can I think they can be a number 1 team? I think sitting still, my team is not the number 1 team, but I think I will manage them to the best record. I might even lose week 1 to my brother. He's got quite the advantage on me. But me and Rick, we face each other 3 times. I don't face Cheeseburger Walrus at all. So maybe Walrus gets the 6th seed and Rick is on the way out. Speaking of which, I think Rick is primed for a trade. And if he starts making trades, he'll be improving his team. And that will make his team much better. His team is probably in the best position for a trade. And the team with the most veteran depth is Team Thunderclap. So when you look at trades offers, just don't accept the first one. Always negotiate. I think everyone has the contact list. I think I gave the contact list to everybody. If not, if I didn't give one to Rob, I'll see him at the kids' football practice Tuesday. So half an hour video is a little bit too long. Everyone have a great season. There's Thursday night football in a few days. Have fun. I hope you're excited as I am to start the season. And good luck, everybody.